James. I'm the Scrum Master for this project. And for this project, we aim to create a secure and responsive application that enables donors to donate clothing to their preferred charity, and then from there, a manager of that charity would assign it to the charity, approve it or disapprove it, and delete it from the system. Then in the GitHub, we use two branches. We use a dev branch where we changed everything and added all the new features. Then once that was stable, we would pull it to the master branch. And in the Jira, we used 3 sprints. We organized it into 3 sprints with a backlog, an in progress, and a done section. In the backlog, we would have everything to do for that sprint. Uh, uh, Someone would assign the task for themselves, then put it in the in progress. Then once in the in progress, and they finished it, they'll put it into the done section.
Hello, my name is Mohammed Hakeem Suleiman, and I was the one who mainly worked on the user stories, personas, and a bit of database and a C4 diagram, which I'll be showing you now. So, just to scroll down to the user stories. So, with the user stories, we had 4 personas. We had the donor manager, stock manager, and admin. Basically, the main flow of the program being that you have the admin who can create charities, and then from there you have the donor who can submit a item with selecting a charity, and then you have the managers who are linked to the charities, and then from there they are able to essentially uh, track where the item is. So is it shipping? Has it arrived at the warehouse? Has it been sold? And so on. So then from there you have the user stories. So the user stories, there's quite a lot of them. So I'll have to go over them very quickly. But it's essentially what I've described. So we've got the user story itself, acceptance criteria. So I'll just show you one of them as an example. So if I just show you, as a donor, I want AI generated sustainability insights so that I can improve my impact. So it's just a case of the dashboard showing CO2 saved, water saved, and the amount of weight that's been saved in terms of materials that are used. So we want to show the top impact categories, so which category has been most impacted, and show at least one recommendation in the sense of what should be done next. And then of course we've got the test cases as well. And then from there I'll just show you the C4 because I believe that does show this bit better. So you've got the 3 persons, the managers, we've fused into 2. So they're interacting with the page, which is we're using Razor pages for C sharp because mainly with its objects, since we are mostly used to C sharp, it's easier to program. Where a website is instead of using Java, so simply just make an API call to chat something like ChatGPT or DeepSeek, and then from there is the AI will be used to essentially organize the stock that's being collected by the users. This is just a container the diagram showing the exact same thing. And you can see the SQLite database, which we'll talk about later. And then we've also got the component diagram, which shows you essentially the flow of the software and which components are interacting. So as you can see here, Razor pages, and then you've got the account controller, and then you've got main clothing component, which would be a page and website, upload clothing, accept or reject, which we do by the managers. And then you see how it flows, and then it's making calls to SQLite database. And then from then, I'm going to move on to the class diagram and pass that back on to Basil.
Uh, Hi, my name is Basil, and in this project, my main responsibility were the designing part in which I had to create the class diagram and then the AI insight, which we'll talk about it later. As we can see here, all the users which inherits admin, guest, donor, donation manager, everything inherits in user, and these are the attributes and events and everything that I've done. As you can see here, the functions of the users login, logout, update, and delete account, which also is same for the admin, guest, donor, and donation manager. And so you can see here, the main role of admin is to generate the reports, and for guest, it's just really the view page, and for the register thing. And for the donor, you got the submit donation, edit donation, delete, and then all the donations here, yeah, the managed by the donation manager. And when we go down, all the stock items are managed by the stock manager, with the functions confirm, who confirms the received donations, and edit and confirms the stock. Yeah, then I'll move on to Hakeem.
Hello. So what we'll be moving on to now is we'll be showing off the actual prototype itself. So we've already got it launched up for you to be able to see. One second. So this is the main homepage. You can see there's just a bit of information about the movement, and then so we'll just log in and I'll show you a basic donor. So if I just show you donor, this is an account that's already been pre-made just for this presentation. So there shouldn't be any problems. So one second. Sorry about this. Sorry, one second. I'll use that. That's why. There we go. So this is the main dashboard. So AI sustainability insights. Basil, who was speaking previously, was the one who made that. So I'll let him come back for that in about a few minutes. The main thing I want to look at is the sustainability impact, where basically every time the user donates, they're able to see basically what they've saved. We've also got account settings. So if I go into that, it basically allows the user to change their details about their account and delete their account. Delete accounts mainly there just for GDPR reasons because you kind of need that. And then if I just go back quickly, so we can view our donation history. So we can see the items we've done, and then we can obviously, if we want to delete the item before it gets sorted with the manager, then we can do that. So I'll just show you a quick example of the donation. So first, it forces you to select charity. I mean, it's forced. Then we've used drop-down menus for sizes and item types. The description we left open, so let's write it's a dress, estimated value £10. Size, gender, female, size is 11, item condition, let's say used, and then it'll just open up. It'll allow me to select an image as well. Just grab a random image, image of a snake, submit donation, and then as you can see, donation has been successfully donated. So in terms of the way this works, is that the donation item itself, so as you can see, it's addressed there. It is linked to the charity, and then also with the actual managers, which I'm going to show you in 1 second, that they themselves are actually linked to charities as well. So if you just go on staff assignment, you can see these managers. You can see the type of manager, and the manager itself is linked to the charity. So I'm just going to pass it back to Basil just for 1 second, just so then he can show off and explain his AI sustainability insight.
And for the implementation, my main feature was the sustainability insight panel in the donor dashboard. So, as the user story mentioned, I want to see a generated summary of sustainability impact so that I can quickly understand my contributions and how to improve. So as you can see here you have already given a recommendation. You already have said a lot of carbon dioxide. Consider building items into fuel shipping to reduce the emission even further. So that was the recommendation given to the user. And here it uses the same table that is used in the database. And here, as you can see here, you can see how many items that you have donated and all the things. And the first issue I have faced was when there was no data. So I have given like when the user is not at all, if the donate items is zero, the recommendation would be please donate an item to view the things. And yeah, I have done this in the service folder. I have created sustainability AI insights, which I have used a bunch of if statements. So they are comparing like what are the items and what are the top impact categories that it have given. So that's it.
Hello. So real quick, what I'm also going to show you is also the managers, just so that you got a better idea of how the flow of the program is actually working. Just bear with me. So if we just get this launched up, so it should be testing. The passwords are the same. There we go. So with the managers, we can see the sustainability metric for the entire software. So we can see all the items that's been saved. So, for example, this manager is linked to iLet View, so they can only see the iLet View items. So as you can see, its address. But as you saw in the database, there were three items. That's because the other item is with Azerbaijan Technologies. It's not with this one. So they have the ability to accept or reject. So if they reject it, it just deletes it off the database because there's no need for it to be rejected. Except the item has been accepted. And also the user will get a notification basically saying what's happened with their item. You also have a send donation, which is quite similar. But basically, all of this is just to confirm that the item has been shipped off to the warehouse. So all these charities, in theory, would have a main hub for where the items are going. So if we just confirm for this one, for example, ship item, it removes it from this part of the database because literally all it's doing is just changing the status. So we've got these six statuses. So all it's doing is just moving it along. And then I'll just show you the stock manager. So this is as if the item has arrived in the warehouse. So we just do this again. So it's testing two. Just load in. Sorry, 1 second. There we go. Okay, so with the stock manager, we have the option to handle stock. So it is similar to the previous one, but they've got much more control because they need to be able to confirm that the item has been processed, completed, and sold. And they're also able to change values, for example, price, just description. So, for example, let's say an item comes in, someone's claiming it's worth £100, but in reality, let's say it's worth £20 because of the condition it is. They are able to change that. And then we've also got the admin, but I'm not sure if time will allow me for that, but I'll just show it as quick as I can. So yeah, so the admin they can create accounts. Same thing here. So if they create a donation manager, for example, they have to select charity, but we can also just create normal users. You've got manage accounts where we can see every single account, and they can freeze. They can just delete or just delete a random account. Delete done, so it just clears it off the database. You've got manage charities where they can create charities. So for example, they delete. So if you delete a charity, everything linked to it just gets wiped off. So we'll just create a charity quickly. So we just call it, I don't know, uh, I let for you too, for example. And then we just write random text. Email has to be like a real email, or else it won't work. And then registration number, create. Yep. So charity's been created, and then we'll just delete that for demonstration purposes. And you can also freeze them. It basically just prevents it from being used, but it still exists in the database. You also got generate report. So what generate report does is it creates an output of everything on the system that's been saved. So again, every time someone donates, it automatically calculates how much they've got. So it's not a PDF, but what it really is if I just show you, open with Word. So all the metadata does actually exist. And from there, we'll be moving on to testing with me. And then I'll pass it back on to James.
Right, so for the testing, we have multiple test cases already created. These were things like just user signing up, make sure that there's proper um, security for the user's password, so it must be 8 characters long, must contain numbers and letters. There's also stuff like making sure a user can't access features that they shouldn't be able to, or shouldn't be able to delete things without proper warning. Uh, then then we tested our pages with Lighthouse, test the sustainability, the accessibility, the performance, and everything like that, which came out quite well. We had to change a few things like changing the nav bars buttons so they were black instead of white, because that contrasted better with the background. Then we tested performance and added a few things like execute rediracing, just so uh, it's quicker for the database and it can handle more people, and it's more scalable. And then for accessibility, we already mentioned that with the buttons, change usability. So we added stuff like a select drop-down menu, so a user can't import stuff that would be wrong, or and they're given options on what to input. And we also added um, things like command.add parameters to prevent SQL injection. We hashed passwords, uh, and this made our Zap report quite good. Here, so I'll pass you on to Hakeem now to talk about the Alsafi.
Hello. Yeah. So this is Hakeem. So I'll just talk about the LSEPI. So with the LSEPI, so mainly what I wrote about was just in terms of GDPR, just fines generally. Also talked about accessibility in the program in terms of, because of obviously the Disability Act of 2010, the websites are being forced to be accessible to disabled users. So obviously we need to keep that in mind when in terms of our UX design. And in terms of AI, because the problem is with AI, they're trained on Western data sources. So if you've got sources from the east, so if you've got flows from the east or from the global south, then there can be issues with the AI categorizing it. For example, categorizing something like a bulb as a female item, even though it's male, uh, as and so on. So and then also just in terms of uh, basically like ethical issues that could happen with AI. And then obviously here are my references. And then from there, we also need to talk about the AI declaration. So mainly with this, AI was used in the creation of this project, but it was in terms of actually fixing bugs or fixing grammar and spelling. So essentially, our workflow with it was to create the skeleton of whatever we were trying to create ourselves. So, for example, if I was creating so for example, when we were programming it, so we'd create the function by ourselves, fix any compilation errors or anything like that, and then we would ask AI if uh, like as a concept of tech debt, is the way we program this essentially correct? I mean, it would give us any kind of recommendation, and we use it just generally for spelling or grammar mistakes. And you can see this all throughout, and it has been declared multiple times in the GitHub repo. So in terms of the conclusion, I'm gonna give this back to Basil, and he's just gonna go through the reflection, and then yeah, that's it.
Hi. So coming to the reflection part, the teamwork and communication challenges Our development journey for Sustain via prototype presents several challenges that tested our reliance as a team. Although our group was originally formed with 4 members, we effectively operated as a small core team of 3 for significant portions of the project. This reduction in manpower placed a heavier workload on the remaining members, requiring us to be more flexible with the assigned scrum roles. For instance, the distinction between developer and product owner often blurred as we pitched into handle coding tasks and documentation to meet our sprint goals. Communication was initially a major hurdle in the early stages. We relied on messages, which led to misalignment regarding task requirement and integration logic, especially between the donation submission and the stock management modules. We found that the tasks were being duplicated or blocked because members were unaware of each other's progress. To overcome this, we had to enforce a strict adherence to agile rituals, which we shifted to using Discord for constant asynchronous updates and prioritize our leave stand-ups during lab sessions to resolve blockers face-to-face. Tooling and agiling adaptation. A significant learning curve for the team was the adoption of professional project management tools. We initially struggled with Jira as a team member was unfamiliar with its interface and workflow compared to simple tools like Trello. This lack of familiarity led to the disorganized backlog in Sprint 1, where user stories were not properly estimated or assigned, making our own burn down charts inaccurate. Recognizing this, we adapted our strategy in Sprint 2 by simplifying our board usage and ensuring every card had clear acceptance criteria before work began. This learning by doing approach helped us transition from chaotic planning to more structured sprint cycle. Despite the friction with Jira, using it forced us to think critically about definition of done and helped us track the complex dependency between admin, donor, and the manager dashboard. Conclusion: despite the constraints of a small team and early communication breakdown, we successfully delivered a functional prototype that meets the core requirements of brief. The experience highlighted that while coding skills are essential, the ability to communicate clearly and manage a backlog effectively is what actually gets a software product across the finish line.
Yeah, so thank you for watching the video. That's all, and yeah, looking forward to hearing your feedback. Thank you for watching. Bye.